If you're in financial trouble, you may be like many good people going through bad times. You don't really know what to do, so you sit around and you do nothing, and that just makes the situation worse. But there are answers, and Our Lady of the Law, Felicia Walker, is joining us now to help. Thanks so much for being here, Felicia.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure that's the biggest thing that you see when people come into your office. They're facing a financial hardship, and they just get paralyzed. They don't really know what to do, so they end up doing nothing.
They do.
And you say that's one of the worst things you could possibly do.
Well, it is, because sometimes it is too late. They've already waited for their house to be foreclosed on. The sale date's already happened, and it is too late. Or they've expended all of their savings or 401k, and they don't have anything saved for the future before they do anything. Or their wages are already being garnished, that type of thing. And we find out most of the time the reason why they are paralyzed is because they feel it's wrong to file bankruptcy, or they're scared to find out the options because they can't even grasp the idea that they would file bankruptcy. There's such a stigma to that word attached to it, when really, the biblical principles for bankruptcy were started, back in Deuteronomy. They, there's a verse that says that a brother should forgive another brother's debts every 7 years. In the 1800s, Congress enacted the first bankruptcy laws to allow just that. And so really, people are paralyzed with fear because they don't know all the facts, or they just feel bad about it. And they don't do anything until there's a crisis and they have no other choice. We just encourage people that are having financial difficulties to go ahead and find out their options before it is too late.
Yeah, you said you've seen people coming into your office with garbage bags full of bills that they don't want to open because they're afraid of what they're going to see inside.
Right.
So they stick their head in the sand. And you say you've also seen people who will try to pay off their debts by liquidating other assets. And you advise against doing that before consulting with somebody.
Right. A lot of people take 401k loans because they have creditors, debt collectors harassing them constantly. They get 20 phone calls, telephone calls at work. Even their family members get phone calls, and neighbors get phone calls to give them messages or drive-bys where they leave notes on the door. Some creditors are really, really bad, where I've had clients call me in a panic because they have a bill collector sitting in their living room and will not leave until they give them a check, which would of course bounce, and that would be criminal activity if they did that. So they just don't have a lot of information to be able to do that, and it's terrible what happens. And sometimes it is people's fault. People are, not everyone has a sickness or loses their job. Some people just overextend. They're young. They don't really know. They do foolish things, but it still doesn't change the fact that they're unable to move forward with their lives because they're crippled with debt. And that's why the bankruptcy laws were enacted, to be able to help people get a fresh start.
Yeah, and you say the majority of the people that come into your office aren't people that are just trying to get out of their obligations. They just have had a situation that puts them in a spot where they're overextended.
Absolutely, and that's one of what we say we help good people in bad times, and that's really why we do this, is because we understand there are good people. These aren't bad people that are out there to buck the system or to hurt a creditor. By any means.
So if they're looking for help, they can obviously come and see you guys, and you offer a free consultation. So at least it gives you the option of finding out what your options are.
Or you have absolutely nothing to lose to come in and discuss it. And I think when we speak with our clients, it's just a huge sense of relief that comes over them when they find out. There is something I can do, or all the myths that they think are going to happen. They're going to lose everything, or someone's going to come into their home and take everything they own. Those are just really, rumors or myths, as we call them, that's not exactly what happens. And again, they don't have anything to lose, and usually they're filled with hope, or at least know other options. It might not be bankruptcy. It might be, such a small amount of money that you could do a debt settlement, or, some of the other options that there are without filing bankruptcy. Some people are overwhelmed by really minimal debt, and they could pay an extra $50 a month to do that. But we have calculators that figure that out, how long it would take you, $2,000 credit card at 18% interest, take you 51 months at the minimum payment.
Wow.
So we can analyze all of that too to determine what's the best route, even if it's not bankruptcy.
And I'm sure the people that you have seen that have gone through the process with you, whether they do end up filing for bankruptcy or not, just coming in to talk with you, what is the relief that they get when they finally get out of that hole?
Usually they're in tears again, but for good reasons instead of the negative ones, and they're able to go back into the regular society and start businesses if they have a failed business. We talk about Walt Disney, Abraham Lincoln, Ford, all of those are successful people people, and when we say those names, we don't think failure, but they filed bankruptcy. And the reason, if they hadn't, then they wouldn't have been able to go on and create some of the things that we have today. And, it might not be that big of a scale, but it might just be being able to, go and the free market and be able to have credit and do those types of things, because people can build up their credit again after.
And that's one thing that we've talked about, and people who have come into your office have been very concerned, because they say, if I file for bankruptcy, my credit is done.
Right.
I will never be able to get good credit again.
Right.
And you guys have said that's not necessarily the case. It's a myth.
It's not necessarily true, and that's the main reason, is because your credit's probably already ruined by the time you have that. It's not going up, except for a long period of time. And we have a program that would anticipate what your FICO score, your Beacon score would be within 12 to 15 months. And we almost always see an increase, a big increase. And the only reason why we don't is if they had really high credit and had don't have any issues, which they're usually not in our office for that, or have no change at all. Also, because your credit starts being able, is compared to other bankruptcy filers, not people with perfect credit.
Yeah, well,
So
the
it
bottom line
changes.
is it's not going to get any better unless you do something about it. So you
Right.
can't sit around and bring in the bills that haven't been opened. You got to face the facts, face
Let
the
us
music.
open them and go for it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's a good idea. Thanks so much for being
Thank
here. We
you.
appreciate it. And we want to thank our Lady of the Law, Felicia Walker, for the advice. And we want to thank Emery, Kast, and Walker, of course, for sponsoring this segment. And remember, the biggest mistake they say you can make when you're facing financial hardship is to do nothing. The legal team of Emery, Kast, and Walker, they say they understand exactly what you're going through, and they are here to help good people in bad times. Their website is www.jackslawyer.com, or you can call them 904-404-3394 for the free consultation to find solutions to your problems. They have offices in Jacksonville, and they also have an office in St. Augustine. For those of you who are living in the southern part of the area, you can go and visit them there.